Welcome to Better Review. In this video, I'm going to talk about mineral nutrition. Let us first see which type of questions are actually asked in the examination from mineral nutrition. So first, we have general functions of minerals. This is a very important question. Sometimes it may be asked and you will not be able to answer it properly. Why? Because it seems very simple, but examiner wants some particular points which you may miss. Okay, so this is important to revise. Second thing, the examples of macro and micro minerals, they are very, very important. After that, you should know the interrelationship between minerals and vitamins. This can be asked in the exam, and it is very important. Why? Because it can be asked as a separate SQ short answer type question, or it may be asked as a part of LAQ long answer type question. How? So let me give you an example question. So we have, what is the role of calcium in the animal body? Describe the relationship between calcium and vitamin D and write a short note on milk fever. So deficiency diseases, they are also very important. And from mineral nutrition, sometimes they can also ask you in objective type questions the molecules containing various minerals. Okay, so these are the various topics from mineral nutrition from which the question may be asked in your examination. So let us start with what are minerals and the classification of minerals into macro and micro minerals. Okay, so minerals are chemical elements required as an essential nutrient by an organism to perform functions necessary for life. Okay, so what are the important points in this definition? First, they are chemical elements like calcium, phosphorus, okay, manganese, iodine, fluorine. They are all elements on the periodic table, right? Then they are essential nutrients, which are essential. Why? Because the organism needs them to perform the functions necessary for life. So what is the criteria of essentiality? So the criteria of essentiality is that a nutrient that is said to be essential has to be present in all the healthy animals. Then its concentration from one animal to the next animal should be fairly constant. Its withdrawal from the diet induces certain abnormalities. And third, if you give such abnormal animal the deficient nutrient, then the abnormality should subside. So these are the criteria of essentiality. Usually they are not going to ask you, but in objective type question, it may come. Then what are the examples of macro minerals and micro minerals? You don't look at this information, it's a little bit wrong. Okay, so first, the examples are important. In macro minerals, macro means big. So we are not talking about the size of the mineral, we are talking about the amount that is required. Okay, or you can think like amount that is present in the body. Okay, so calcium, phosphorus, magnesium present in the bone. Okay, so bone, very big thing. So calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, they are macro minerals. Then sodium, potassium, chlorine. So sodium, potassium, chloride, these are the electrolytes, right? So they are present in large amount. And at last we have sulfur, which is a part of proteins. So we have 7 macro minerals: calcium, phosphorus, magnesium from bone, sodium, potassium, chloride from the electrolytes, and sulfur from the proteins. This is how you can remember them. Then we have micro minerals. They are a little bit difficult to remember. Why? Because they are more in number. Okay, so we have manganese, iodine, selenium, molybdenum, iron, silicon, tin, nickel, vanadium, arsenic, copper, cobalt, chromium, zinc, and fluorine. One thing to note is that in all animals, all these micro minerals are not essential. Okay, so these macro minerals, they are universal. Okay, so all animals require them, albeit the requirement may be different. Okay, so the amount that is required, it may be different, but these 7 macro minerals are essential in all the animals, in all the species. But these 15 micro minerals are not essential in all the species. Okay, for example, in case of humans, arsenic and tin are not essential nutrients, so they are not considered minerals. Okay, but in some species like chickens, in rats, arsenic is required, tin is required. Okay, so here we have included them in exam. You have to include these minerals as well, but note that they are not essential in all the species. Okay, so how can you remember the micro minerals. So there's a trick. It is not very sensible, but our teacher told us this trick, and for some reason we remember it because of this. So we have Miss Tanvas 3 ZF. Okay, so TNVAC3 ZF. So what it is denoting? MIS. So we have 2M, 2I, 2S. Okay, so we have manganese, iodine, selenium, molybdenum, iron, and silicon. Okay, so one I stands for iron, even though the formula is Fe. Okay, then we have T and VAC3, Tanvas 3. So Tanvas, it is a university in Tamil Nadu, veterinary university. So Tanvas, T stands for tin here. Then we have nickel, vanadium, arsenic. Then there are three C's. So Tanvas C3. Okay, chromium, cobalt, and copper. And then we have ZF, zinc, fluorine. Okay, so this is how you can try to remember these micro minerals. Then let us see the various functions of the minerals. Okay, so in the exams you have to follow a particular pattern, and that is you have to classify the various functions. So first we have structural functions. They include the function of the minerals as a constituent of a body part. Okay, for example, we have bones, and bones are made up of calcium and phosphorus, right? They have calcium and phosphorus. So calcium and phosphorus, they have a structural function in the body. Okay, other than that, sulfur, it is part of protein, and protein, they make up the body. So sulfur also has a structural function. Okay, so these are the various examples. Then we have protective function. Protective function means something that is protecting the body. So calcium, phosphorus, they form the bones, and bone again, they protect the organs. So you can say they indirectly have protective function. Then fluorine forms enamel. Rather than forming enamel, it actually hardens the enamel, and because the enamel protects the teeth, fluorine has a protective function. Then calcium also has a role in blood clotting, right? Hair contains selenium, which gives its strength to the hair, so it has protective function. Then we have regulatory function. These are very, very important. So sodium and chloride have regulation of osmotic pressure. Potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, calcium, chlorine, and sodium, they are responsible for regulation of acid base balance, right? Then iodine is required for regulation of BMR via the production of thyroid hormones. Okay, so these are certain important points. Then we have general metabolic functions, in which you have to remember the activation of enzymes, that is important. Then for hemoglobin synthesis, we require iron and copper. Selenium act as an antioxidant. Phosphorus is a constituent of ATP, and chromium is required for insulin activity. This is a very, very, very important question. Why? Because it is often asked in the exam. Which mineral is responsible for carbohydrate metabolism? Answer is chromium. Why? Because it is responsible for insulin activity. Which mineral is associated with insulin? It is chromium. Okay, or insulin is associated with which mineral? The answer would be chromium. Okay. Then copper is required for the production of RNA and cholesterol utilization. Again, important point. So these are the general functions of the minerals. Remember, you have to classify them, otherwise you will not get good marks. So you have to classify the functions as structural function, protective function, regulatory function, and metabolic function. Then we should see the interrelationship between mineral and vitamins. Vitamin A and zinc. So zinc is essential for the synthesis of retinol binding protein, which in turn is required for the mobilization of vitamin A from the liver. So retinol binding protein is very much important. Okay. Then deficiency of zinc lead to low vitamin A levels in the serum. Zinc is part of, or we can say it is a cofactor of the enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase, which is necessary for the interconversion of retinol to retinal. This is important. And then zinc is required for the normal functioning of the epithelium of ovary, while vitamin A is also involved in the normal functioning of the epithelium of ovary. Okay, so out of these, 2 points are very much important that you must not ignore in the exam, and you should never omit them in your exam or in your answer. These are retinol binding protein. Second thing, alcohol dehydrogenase. Zinc is a cofactor of alcohol dehydrogenase. They can ask you as a objective type question in the exam. Okay, it is necessary for the interconversion of retinol to retinol. So relationship between vitamin A and zinc is very much important from an exam point of view. Then we have selenium and vitamin E. This is also very important. So first thing, selenium forms glutathione peroxidase, and glutathione peroxidase and vitamin E both are potent antioxidants. Okay, so potent antioxidant, one important point. Second thing, both have role in immune system. Third thing, selenium is required for the maintenance of the integrity of pancreatic epithelium. And if selenium is deficient, then the integrity of pancreatic epithelium is compromised, resulting in decreased absorption of vitamin E. Okay, so this is important point. Integrity of the pancreatic epithelium, role in immune system, and antioxidant. Okay, so these two interrelationships are very much important. Then we have vitamin B12 and cobalt. So cobalt is basically an integral part of vitamin B12 and vitamin C and iron. So vitamin C promotes iron absorption. Okay, so these two are not very much important, but you should know. Then we have one thing that I have not written here. It is vitamin D and calcium. Okay, and phosphorus. The relationship between these three is very much important. At one time, in one question paper, they asked in LAQ the interrelationship between vitamin D, calcium, and phosphorus. Okay, so it is very simple. It is basically a physiology question. So vitamin D is responsible for the absorption of calcium in the intestine. Okay, so calcium absorption is promoted by vitamin D, and the active form of vitamin D is 125 dihydroxy cholecalciferol. Okay, and for the formation of this 125 dihydroxy cholecalciferol, or we can say the activated form of vitamin D, we require a hormone that is PTH, parathormone or parathyroid hormone. Okay, and this parathyroid hormone is released by parathyroid gland. And what will happen if the calcium level increases? PTH level will go down. So the level of 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol, which is also called as calcitriol. Okay, it is released from kidney. So we get vitamin D from the diet. Then it is converted to the active form. First, partly in the liver. After that, it will go to the kidney where it will become 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol. Okay, and then this will go to the intestine and increase the absorption of the calcium. Okay, so there's a regulation of calcium going on here. Okay, so if vitamin D is there, it will cause calcium level to rise. If calcium level will rise, it will affect PTH, they will decrease. And if PTH decreases, vitamin D decreases, so it will bring down the level of calcium. Okay, now PTH will cause a decrease in the phosphorus level. PTH increases calcium, decreases phosphorus, while calcitriol, that is activated form of vitamin D, it increases the amount of both calcium and phosphorus. Okay, this is what you should know. And then there's also another hormone released by thyroid gland that is called calcitonin, and it is required for decreasing the level of calcium. Okay, it is responsible for decreasing calcium level in the blood. So this is all about the interrelationship between the minerals and vitamins that are important from an exam point of view. Then at last, let us see some deficiency diseases. I'll just talk about the various names which are important. So from calcium, the important ones are rickets, osteomalacia, milk fever, that is also called as post-parturient paresis, then osteoporosis, osteopenia, and big head disease. Okay. Then phosphorus will lead to poor fertility, very much important point. Then pica, and again it can cause all these hemolytic anemia. It is called as hypophosphatemic hemolytic anemia. I've discussed this in somewhat detail in my video about anemia. Then cobalt, deficiency of cobalt will lead to pinning, cattle coast, and enzootic marasmus. Okay, very important names. Then copper will lead to depigmentation of hair, stringy or steely wool, swayback disease, enzootic ataxia, falling disease, dissecting aneurysm, and pinning. Okay, then iron will lead to piglet anemia, which is also called as thumps. Very, very important point. It is often asked as an SAQ, often asked as an OT. Okay, and I've also discussed this in my video about anemia. Then we have cotton fur in mink. Cotton fur is seen in mink. Then deficiency of iodine will cause goiter and hairlessness in pigs. Then magnesium deficiency will cause grass tetany, also called as grass staggers or wheat pasture poisoning, and lactation tetany. Then deficiency of manganese, Perosis, parrot beak embryo. This is very much important, parrot beak embryo. Then molybdenum deficiency, Pete's cover, tetanus, selenium deficiency, gizzard myopathy, white muscle disease, yellow fat disease, exudative diathesis, and mulberry heart diseases. Then we have one toxicity, that is toxicity of selenium. It will cause blind, staggers, and alkali disease. Okay, and at last we have zinc, whose deficiency will cause porosis, dermatitis, and parakeratosis. So these are the important deficiency diseases. You might have noticed that I'm not covering all the minerals like deficiency of fluorine, arsenic. Why? Because they are required in very, very small amount. So usually deficiency diseases does not occur. Secondly, poisoning of minerals like tin, arsenic, fluorine, they are very much common as compared to their deficiency. Okay, so no need to discuss them. We should just know the names of the important deficiency diseases. Often is in the exam they can ask you short and answer type question on various deficiency diseases like milk fever, right? Like pica, like big head disease. Okay, so they are important diseases. Also from vitamins, deficiency diseases are very much important. But in this video, I'm not going to talk about them very much. You should just know the names. Okay. So this is it for this video. I hope you like this video. If so, hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to my channel.